Hi everyone, for today's video I am going to show you how to sew Prudence the felt chicken, and it's all hand sewn, so even a beginner can sew this chicken, and it's made from felt, and I love sewing with felt because it's very forgiving. And in this video I will show you how to do the eyes a little bit different because these are safety eyes, and in my video I don't use safety eyes. But these are super fun to sew up, and they're super easy. And the video will be in 4 parts because I don't want the videos to be too long, so I had to break them up into a 4-part series. I will number the series in the title of the videos. And here is where I got the pattern. It's from an Etsy shop, and it's called the Little Softy Shop, and she has a bunch of great patterns to make felt critters. And this happens to be called Prudence the chicken, otherwise known as a barnyard buddy. And right now the pattern is on sale, but by the time I get this video series up, I don't know if it will still be on sale. But either way, it's a reasonable price. I will put a link to the Little Softy Shop Etsy store in the description of my video down below. And now it's time to start sewing Prudence the chicken. It's time to join the 2 halves of the chicken together. But first I want to position the legs so when I'm sewing I can sew the legs right in there. And I put the legs where I think they should be. And I am going to temporarily adhere these to the felt with some washi tape. And I have some washi tape here. So I'm just gonna put the feet where I think they should be, the legs, and I'm just gonna press some washi tape on there. You can use pins or you can use any other kind of tape. I just happen to have some washi tape handy. And that way, if I do sew the washi tape, it'll peel off. I can get it to come off. So now that I have the legs where I want them, I'm going to put the top on. And I have to leave a hole to stuff this little guy, this little chicken. And I'm just going, I know where I want to start. I'm going to start right here, I guess, kind of on the hip area, because I want to leave a big enough hole to stuff. So that's where I will start, right there. Okay, and now I'm going to start to blanket stitch around this chicken, and I have 3 strands of floss. And like I said, I'm going to start on the hip area, and I'm going to go in between. This is where I'm going to start it. I'm going to pull it, and then I'm going to hide the knot. And then I'm going to go through the back, and I'm going to come up the same hole. There we go. And now I want this loop here. I'm going to insert my needle through the loop. So it's kind of like the start of a knot, but this is the start of a blanket stitch. And then to continue on, I'm going to go through the back to the front as far, I'd say I go about 1/4 of an inch, a little less. And then I'm going to leave a loop, and then I'm going to insert my needle through the loop, and then I'm going to pull, and I've got that same tension that I used on the rest of the project, not too tight, but just snug enough. And I'm going to continue on until I get to the first leg. And now I'm coming to the first leg, and I have my washi tape holding it here. It's holding it okay, not super fantastic great. So I'm just going to pull off that washi tape, and I'm just going to hold the leg with my fingers until I get to the leg, because I got to sew the leg a different way. And then when I get to the leg, I'm going to complete my last blanket stitch right in front of the leg. And now what I want to do is I want to take my needle to the back, and I'm not going to go through the yellow, I'm going to go through the orange, and I'm going to bring it up where I want it to. And now I'm going to bring it through both the yellow pieces. There we go. Like so. And then when I want to come to the front, I'm going to stick this to the edge. I'm not going to go through the yellow, but on the front, I'm going to go through the yellow. And then I'm going to go on the edge, and I'm going to come through to the back, through the yellow. And then I'm going to go to the edge, and then I'm going to come out right on top of the yellow, and now I'm going to sink it into both of the yellows. Now I want to resume my blanket stitch, so I have to start my blanket stitch again. So I'm going to bring my needle up through the front where I want it to come out. And then I'm going to come around, and I'm going to stick the needle up through the same hole, but through both of these. And then I got my loop, and I'm going to stick my needle through the loop. And then I'm going to continue blanket stitching until I get to the next leg. And then I'm going to sew the other leg on exactly the same way as I did this leg. And then when I get to the end here, I want to go through both, and I want to come up in the same spot, and then I want to go through the loop, and then I'm going to do a couple more blanket stitches, and then I'm going to run out of thread here. And now I will start a new thread. Now when you run out of thread and you have to add a new thread, you just can't start here, because then there will be a gap here. There will be no red, line right here. So what I have found to do is I'm going to flip this to the inside. And I have my, threaded needle here, and I'm going to take a bite of the felt, but I'm not going through to the front. And I have this, my thread knotted, and I'm going to pull that through. And then I want to start by creating a line with the thread. So I'm going to come up to where my thread stopped. I'm going to pull my thread through, and now I am going to continue on with the blanket stitch. But I am first going to go in between the two felt pieces. I'm trying to get a close up here. And I'm going to come out where I want it to come out. And there, see, I got my red line right there. And now I'm going to go through both of the felts, and I'm going to come out in the same area and then I am going to go through the loop and pull. And then that way you have that little red line and it doesn't look so obvious that you started a new thread. Now I'm going to continue on sewing until I get to the armpit, because the armpit, I want to show you how to sew that, because you got to sew it a little bit differently so it doesn't come apart. Now we're getting to the armpit area, and because this is such a tiny area, I don't want to do blanket stitch in the armpit. I'm going to do some whip stitches, otherwise there's a gap and then it doesn't look very nice. So once I get to the armpit area, I am just going to bring my needle through to the back and then to the front, and I am going to create just a couple of whip stitches. Okay, that was from the back to the front, and now I'll go from the front to the back, and I want to make sure I get all the back felt. I don't want to, because sometimes when you're sewing this way, you can not take enough bite of the felt, and then you only end up sewing one layer. And then I'm going to bring it to the back and out the front again. There we go. And then to the back again, and then to the front. And then I'm going to do it one more time, and then we can continue on with the blanket stitch. There we go. But see, that just created like a couple of, security stitches in the armpit there. So now to do the blanket stitch, I'm going to come out, or I'm going to come in where my thread is coming out, and then now I'm going to continue around. I'm not going to video the whole thing because I'm just running out of space here. So when I get to the comb, I'll come back on video. But for now, I'm just going to sew a blanket stitch all the way around. Okay, I'm getting close to where the comb needs to be sewn in, so I'm going to place the comb on the chicken's head where I think it should go. And I have a little pin here, and I'm just going to pin it. And then I'm going to continue on with my blanket stitching until I get to the comb. And then I'm going to sew the comb exactly the same way as I did sew the legs. So I'm going to whip stitch the comb on. I'm going to take the pin out. And now I'm going to take my last blanket stitch here. And now to start whip stitching the comb on, I'm actually going to go through to the back. I'm not going to go through all the layers. I'm just sticking my needle in the back. And now I'm going to follow this edge. I'm going to go through to the front. But I'm going to take a bite of the yellow. And now I'm going to pull. I'm going to come up through the edge. But I'm going to take a bite of the yellow now. And then I'm going to follow the edge. I'm going to come through the yellow. And I'm going to do this all the way across. Edge. Through the yellow. Edge. Through the yellow. And now it's time to start the blanket stitch again. So I'm going to start by, I'm going to loop my thread over. I'm going to come up where the thread came out of. And I am going to go through the loop. And then I'm going to blanket stitch around, and I'm going to do the same thing in the armpit as I did over here. I'm going to make sure I stop my stitching about a ½ inch from the bottom of the armpit. Okay, and I'm going to show you again how to start after you run out of thread. And I'm going to take a little bite of this felt, but I'm not going to come all the way through to the front. I'm just taking a little bite of the felt. And I have my thread knotted, so I'm going to pull it so that thread is hidden on the inside. And now I'm going to come up where I left off. I'm going to come right up through that thread. And then I'm going to pull. And then I want to start the blanket stitch again. So I'm going to go in between where I want to start it. I'm going to pull the thread through. And then I am going to go around and bring my needle up where the thread pulled through. And then I have my loop. And then I'm going to put my needle in the loop. And there I have my blanket stitch started again. And now I will continue blanket stitching until I get to about here. So I want to tie this blanket stitch off because this is where I want to end. So I'm going to come through the loop. I'm going to pull it tight. And now I want to hide this off. So I'm going to go inside the chicken. And I want to make this really secure right here, so I'm going to make another knot on the inside. So I'm going to take a little bite of the felt. And I want to make a knot, so I go through my loop, pull it a little tight, and then to hide it, I'm going to stick my needle just anywhere in the chicken, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to make sure I'm on the inside. And I'm just going to bring it up to the top here. There we go. And then I can nip that off. And then the end will be hidden in there. I'm going to start my blanket stitching again. So I'm going to take a little bite of the felt without coming through to the top. I'm going to come up where I ended. I'm going to come in between the two layers where I want to start, right there. And then I'm going to come through both layers. There's my loop, stick my needle through my loop, and then I'm going to continue. I only need to make a couple of more blanket stitches because this is where I'm going to stuff it, the hole I'm going to use to stuff it. So I'm going to end right there, but I'm not going to tie it off, and I am going to leave this long thread on there. I'm going to take my needle off. I put the needle back on when I'm ready. But now it's time to stuff the chicken. This was series number 3, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when I upload series number 4. And that's where we'll be stuffing the chicken and finishing the chicken.